I am sitting in my empty apartment right now, looking at the space where her designer furniture used to be, and I keep hearing her voice in my head. Marriage feels like prison. That is what she said to me. My wife actually compared our marriage to being locked up. And you know what the crazy part is? I did not see it coming. I thought I had found the real thing, the kind of love people write songs about. I was so blind to the signs that were right in front of me from the very beginning. But sometimes you have to lose everything to finally see the truth clearly. Before I tell you this story, let me know where you are watching from. Drop your location in the comments. If you have ever been through something similar, or if you have ever ignored red flags because you wanted to believe in someone, hit that like button right now. And please subscribe, because I share real stories about real life, the kind nobody wants to talk about at dinner parties. Now, let me take you back to where this all started. Back when I actually believed I was building a future with someone who loved me. 3 years ago, my life looked pretty different. I was 30 years old, working as a software engineer at a tech company in Seattle. The job paid well, really well. I was pulling in a 6-figure salary, living alone in a nice apartment downtown that I had managed to pay off early, and honestly, I was focused entirely on my career. Dating was not really on my radar. I had been single for about 2 years, just doing my own thing, hanging out with friends on weekends, hitting the gym, playing video games. Life was simple, comfortable, maybe a little lonely, but I was okay with that. Then one Saturday morning in October, I walked into this coffee shop near Pike Place Market. It was one of those cool fall days where the air smells like rain and fallen leaves. I ordered my usual black coffee and was about to leave when I noticed her sitting by the window. She had this book open in front of her, something about Renaissance art, and she was wearing a simple gray sweater and jeans. Nothing flashy, nothing screaming for attention. She just looked naturally elegant, like she belonged in one of those cozy autumn Instagram posts. I do not usually approach strangers, but something made me walk over. Maybe it was the book. I had taken an art history class in college and actually enjoyed it. So I asked her what she thought of the Medici influence on Florentine art. Yeah, I know, super nerdy opener. But she looked up and smiled, and we just started talking. Her name was Jessica. She told me she was a freelance graphic designer, that she loved anything creative, that she dreamed of opening her own design studio someday. We talked for 2 hours straight about art, music, travel, life goals. She seemed humble, grounded, passionate about her work, but not obsessed with money or status. She even insisted on buying her own coffee when I offered to pay. We exchanged numbers that day. Within a week, we were texting constantly. Within 2 weeks, we went on our first official date to an Italian restaurant in Capitol Hill. Nothing fancy, just good pasta and wine. She dressed simply, ordered modestly, and when the check came, she actually reached for her wallet. I paid anyway because that is how I was raised, but the gesture meant something to me. It felt like she was not expecting me to take care of everything. For the next 6 months, everything seemed perfect. We went hiking on weekends. We cooked dinner together at my place. We watched old movies and argued about which Tarantino film was the best. She met my friends. I met hers. My buddy Marcus, who works with me at the tech company, even pulled me aside one night and said she seemed like a keeper. Life felt complete in a way it never had before. But looking back now, I can see the little cracks that started forming around month 3. Jessica began suggesting restaurants that were way more expensive than the places we usually went. At first, I thought she was just showing me her refined taste, that she appreciated quality. So I took her to a steakhouse where dinner for 2 cost $300. She loved it. She took pictures of everything, posted them on social media with captions about living your best life. Then she started doing this thing where we would walk past a store, and she would stop to look at handbags or shoes in the window. Designer stuff. Gucci, Prada, Louis Vuitton. She would say things like, "I've always wanted one of these," or "Maybe one day I will treat myself when my business takes off." It felt harmless. I wanted to make her happy, so, for her birthday, I bought her a Louis Vuitton handbag. It cost me $1,800. She cried when she opened it. She said it was the most thoughtful gift anyone had ever given her. I felt like the best boyfriend in the world. But then she started mentioning other items that would match the bag. A wallet, a belt, shoes. It was never demanding, just casual comments here and there. Oh, they make a wallet in the same pattern. That would look so good together. I did not buy those things right away, but the seed was planted. Marcus started noticing things, too. One night after work, we grabbed beers, and he asked me straight up, "Dude, I do not want to be that guy, but have you noticed she never offers to split the bill anymore?" I got defensive. I told him she was building her freelance career, that her income was not steady yet, that I made way more money than she did anyway, so it was only fair that I covered most expenses. He backed off, but I could tell he was not convinced. There were other small things. Like the time we went to dinner with my parents, and Jessica conveniently forgot her wallet. Or when her car suddenly had this mysterious problem and needed $1,200 worth of repairs that I ended up paying for. Every time she had a reasonable explanation. Every time I believed her because I wanted to believe her. I thought I was being a supportive partner, doing what a good man should do. After a year together, I proposed to her at a beautiful resort in Napa Valley. I had saved up for a nice ring, 2 carats platinum setting. It cost me $11,000. When I got down on one knee during sunset overlooking the vineyards, she said yes, before I even finished asking the question. We were both crying. It felt like the beginning of forever. Then came wedding planning. Jessica wanted something small but tasteful, she said. Just close family and friends. Nothing crazy. But small and tasteful turned into a guest list of 120 people. A venue at a historic mansion, a designer dress, a live band, and an open bar with top-shelf liquor. The final bill came to $45,000. I paid for almost all of it because Jessica explained that her parents were going through some financial difficulties. Her mom had some medical bills, her dad's business was struggling. I met her parents only twice before the wedding, and they seemed nice enough but distant. They showed up for the ceremony, smiled in photos, and left early from the reception. Our honeymoon was in Bali. Jessica chose a 5-star resort on a cliff overlooking the ocean. We stayed for 2 weeks. Every day was spa treatments, private beach dinners, excursions to temples and rice terraces. She wanted the best of everything. Total cost was $12,000, not including shopping. I told myself it was worth it, that you only get married once, that this was an investment in our happiness together. When we got back to Seattle, we moved into my apartment. Well, it was already mine. I had bought it years ago and finished paying the mortgage just before we met. Jessica said she would continue doing freelance work from home, that she could turn the spare bedroom into her office. I thought it sounded perfect. We would both work, both contribute, build our life together as a team. That is what I thought anyway. The first month after the wedding, things started shifting. Little things at first. Jessica mentioned that my furniture was old and did not really fit the vibe of a married couple's home. She said we needed to upgrade, so we went shopping. New sofa, $3,500. New dining table and chairs, $2,800. Decorative items, lamps, rugs, artwork for the walls, another $1,500. I put it all on my credit card and told myself it was normal. Newlyweds nest, right. They make their space feel like home. Then Jessica said she needed a proper workspace for her freelance projects. The spare bedroom became her office. We bought a custom desk for $1,200, an ergonomic chair for $800, and equipment, including a new laptop monitor, graphics tablet, and professional lighting, for about $2,000 more. I asked her about her current projects, what clients she was working with. She said she was in a networking phase, building her portfolio, reaching out to potential clients. It takes time to build a creative business, she told me. You cannot rush art. I did not see her working much, though. Most days when I came home from the office, she was watching TV or scrolling through her phone. When I asked about her day, she said, creative work is not 9 to 5, that inspiration strikes at odd hours, that I would not understand the creative process. Fair enough, I thought. I am an engineer. I think in code and logic. Maybe I really did not get how designers operate. But the bills kept climbing. Our grocery expenses doubled because Jessica insisted on buying organic produce, premium brands, specialty items from Whole Foods. She started going to a fancy gym with yoga classes and a sauna, $90 a month. She got her nails done every 2 weeks, $60 each time. Hair appointments every month at a salon where a cut and color cost $250. When I asked about all this spending, she said she needed to look presentable for client meetings. How could she pitch herself as a professional designer if she did not look the part? The thing was, I never saw her go to any client meetings. I never heard her on phone calls discussing projects. I never saw any finished work. But I kept quiet because I did not want to seem controlling or unsupportive. I wanted to be the kind of husband who believed in his wife's dreams. Then, about 6 months into the marriage, the complaints started. Real complaints. Jessica began saying she felt trapped at home. She used that word specifically. Trapped. She said she was going crazy staying in the apartment all day, that she needed experiences, that life was passing her by. I suggested maybe she should dive deeper into her freelance work, build up some steady clients, find fulfillment in her career. That set her off. She got angry and said I did not understand the pressure of creative work, that I was being insensitive, that I only cared about money and productivity. What she wanted, she said, was to travel more. We need experiences, not just work, work, work. Her words. So we started taking weekend trips. Portland for a long weekend, $1,800. San Francisco the next month, $2,200. Each trip, Jessica wanted to stay at boutique hotels, eat at trendy restaurants, visit expensive attractions. I was working overtime at this point just to keep up with the spending, but I did not complain out loud. I thought maybe she just needed time to adjust to married life, that eventually she would settle down and things would balance out. Then she started in on my car. I drove a 2018 Honda Accord. Reliable, good gas mileage paid off. But Jessica said it was not appropriate for our status. Her friends and their husbands all drove luxury cars, BMWs, Mercedes, Range Rovers. She did not say I had to buy her a car, not directly. She just kept making comments. Sarah's husband bought her a Range Rover for her birthday. Can you imagine how nice that must feel to be valued like that? Or, we live in such a nice area, but people probably think we are struggling when they see us pull up in that Honda. I started feeling guilty, like maybe I was being cheap. Maybe I was not providing the lifestyle she deserved. So I worked harder, took on extra projects, earned bonuses. But the more I made, the more she spent. It was like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. One afternoon, I came home early from work because I had a headache. I found Jessica on the couch with her laptop, but she was not doing design work. She had at least 10 browser tabs open, all shopping sites. Designer handbags, shoes, jewelry, clothing. I stood there watching her scroll through $1,000 purses like she was browsing a clearance rack. I asked her how the freelance work was going. She closed the laptop quickly and said she had sent out several proposals, but had not heard back from anyone yet. The market is really competitive, she explained. I asked if I could see her portfolio website just out of curiosity. She said she was still building it, that it was not ready to show yet. That night I could not sleep. I got up and checked our bank statements on my phone. There were charges I did not recognize. $600 at Nordstrom, $450 at Sephora, $320 for subscription boxes, beauty products delivered monthly. I woke Jessica up and asked her about these purchases. She started crying immediately. She said she felt so stressed being home alone all day, that shopping made her feel better, that she was sorry and would cut back. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But 1 week later, our joint credit card got hit with an $1,800 charge. Jessica had bought another designer handbag. When I confronted her, she said it was on sale, that she was actually saving us money by buying it now, instead of waiting until it went back to full price. The logic made no sense, but she said it with such conviction that I almost questioned my own sanity. I called Marcus and told him everything over lunch one day. The spending, the lack of work, my growing suspicions. He got quiet for a moment, then told me his wife had seen Jessica having lunch with a group of women at an expensive restaurant downtown a few weeks back. It was a Wednesday afternoon. Jessica had told me that day she was staying home to work on a big project. Marcus did not want to interfere, but he thought I should know. That was when I started really paying attention. I looked for Jessica's design portfolio online. Nothing. I searched her name with terms like graphic designer, Seattle freelance design, creative professional. 0 results. No website, no testimonials, no examples of her work anywhere. I asked her directly one evening, "How many clients have you actually had in the past year?" She got defensive, said I was interrogating her, that she did not want to talk about work at home, that I was making her feel inadequate. The tension in our home became thick enough to cut with a knife. We barely spoke except to argue about money. And then Jessica brought up buying a house. She said the apartment was too small, that we needed a real home with a yard, maybe a pool in a better neighborhood. Somewhere her friends would actually want to visit. I told her that was not financially possible right now. We needed to save money, build up our emergency fund, pay off the credit card debt she had accumulated. She exploded. "Why did you marry me, if you cannot provide a good life?" Those were her exact words, as if providing a good life meant endless spending with no questions asked. It all came to a head on a Saturday night. We had spent the day barely speaking to each other. Jessica was mad because I had refused to look at houses online with her. I was exhausted from working 60-hour weeks trying to keep us afloat financially. After dinner, which we ate in silence, she started again about needing more freedom, more experiences, more life. And then she said it. The words that changed everything. Marriage feels like prison. I cannot do anything I want. I just stared at her. "Prison?" I asked. "What do you mean? You do whatever you want every single day. You shop, you go out with friends, you spend money like we own a bank." She was not backing down. "I cannot buy the things I like. I cannot go places I want to go. I feel trapped living under your rules." That was when it hit me. The real issue was not that she felt trapped in the marriage. She felt trapped by the fact that I had started setting budget limits. She did not see our marriage as a partnership. She saw it as access to an ATM machine, and now the ATM was putting up resistance. The words came out of my mouth before I even really thought about them. "If you feel like you are in prison, maybe I should set you free." Jessica looked shocked. She clearly expected me to apologize, to promise I would be less strict about money, to open my wallet wider like I always had before. But I did not. For the first time in our marriage, I did not back down. That night after she went to bed, I stayed up. I could not sleep anyway. I went to my home office and started digging through our financial records, really looking at them for the first time with clear eyes. I added up every expense since our wedding day. The total made me physically sick. In 18 months of marriage, Jessica had spent $127,000. Not one single penny of that came from her income. It was all mine. Then I did something I am not proud of, but I do not regret it either. We shared a family computer, and Jessica had never logged out of her email. I opened it. I was not trying to invade her privacy. I was trying to understand who I had actually married. What I found destroyed me. Jessica had a Pinterest board called Future Lifestyle. It was full of images: mansions, luxury cars, designer clothes, exotic vacations, jewelry. Everything was labeled with prices and brands. And the board had been created 2 weeks before we met at that coffee shop. 2 weeks before our supposedly chance encounter. I kept scrolling through her emails. There was a conversation with someone named Brittany, one of her friends I had met once or twice. The email chain went back almost 3 years. I found a message from Brittany that said, "So did you find your sugar daddy yet?" And Jessica had replied, "Working on it. Met a tech guy, seems nice and loaded. Fingers crossed." That email was sent 1 week after we met at the coffee shop. I sat there in the dark, reading these messages, and felt like someone had punched through my chest and ripped out my heart. Everything had been calculated. The book about Renaissance art, the modest clothing, the shy smile, the talk about her freelance dreams and her humble aspirations. All of it was an act. She had seen me walk into that coffee shop with my nice watch and my tech company hoodie, and she had played her role perfectly. I printed everything. Every bank statement, every credit card bill, every email, every screenshot of her Pinterest board. Then I searched for divorce attorneys in Seattle. At 2 in the morning, I sent consultation requests to 5 different law firms. The next morning, I called in sick to work. I had a 9 o'clock appointment with a lawyer named Mr. Patterson. He was in his 50s, had been practicing family law for 25 years. I walked into his office and laid out everything. The spending records the emails, the fake career, the whole story. Mr. Patterson looked through the documents carefully. Then he looked up at me and said, "You are in a community property state, which normally would mean she gets half of everything, but we can protect your assets." He explained that because we had only been married for 18 months, and because I owned the apartment before we got married, and it was already paid off, that property was protected. My retirement accounts and savings from before the marriage were also separate property. The only things she could claim were assets we had accumulated together during the marriage. And since she had contributed exactly $0 of income, her claim was weak. Mr. Patterson laid out a strategy. We would immediately freeze all shared bank accounts and credit cards. I would transfer my money into accounts in only my name. Then we would file for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. Given her lack of financial contribution and the short duration of the marriage, she would not qualify for spousal support in Washington state. We could offer her a small settlement just to expedite things and avoid a long court battle, but it would be minimal. She wanted freedom, Mr. Patterson said with a slight smile. So give it to her, but lock your wallet. I spent the rest of that day getting everything in order. I opened a new bank account at a different bank and transferred all my money. I called our credit card companies and canceled the joint cards. I moved my important documents, my passport, my financial records, into a locked filing cabinet. By the time evening came, I was ready. I got home around 7. Jessica was on the couch watching some reality show, still giving me the silent treatment from our fight the night before. I walked over and placed a manila envelope on the coffee table in front of her. "You said marriage feels like prison," I told her calmly. "Here is your freedom." She looked at the envelope, then at me. "What is this, divorce papers?" Her face went completely white. "Are you serious? This is a joke, right? You are trying to scare me. I am completely serious." I sat down across from her. "I found your emails, Jessica. I found your Pinterest board. I know everything." She tried to grab for outrage. "You went through my private things. How dare you invade my privacy like that? You went through my bank account for 18 months. I think we are even." Then I laid it all out. The $127,000. The zero income from her. The fake freelance career that never existed. The emails to Brittany. The Pinterest board, created before we even met. Every single piece of evidence. Jessica tried to backtrack. She said she did love me, that maybe she had been materialistic at first, but her feelings had become real, that we could work through this. She was crying, begging for another chance. But I was done. "Love does not come with a price tag," I told her. "You never loved me. You loved my wallet. And there is a difference." She kept crying, saying, I was being cruel, that I was overreacting. Then she tried anger. She said she would take me for everything I had, that I would regret this. I handed her a second envelope. "That is from my attorney. You will see that you are not entitled to much of anything. The apartment was mine before marriage. My retirement and savings were mine before marriage. You contributed no income during the marriage. Washington state does not award alimony in situations like ours. You can fight it if you want, but you will spend more on legal fees than you would ever get from me." Her face cycled through emotions. Shock, anger, fear, desperation. What am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go? I do not know Jessica, But that is not my problem anymore. I am setting you free just like you wanted. But my wallet stays locked. Then I told her I had already moved all the money out of our joint accounts and canceled the credit cards. She pulled out her phone right there and tried to use one of the cards to buy something online. Transaction declined. She tried another one. Declined. The reality of the situation hit her all at once. She had nothing. No income, no savings, no career to fall back on. Just a closet full of designer clothes and handbags that she had bought with my money. Jessica moved out within a week. She went to stay with Brittany, the friend who had encouraged her gold digging in the first place. The divorce process moved quickly. Her lawyer tried to fight for alimony, claiming she had sacrificed her career to support me. But there was no career to sacrifice. The email evidence made that crystal clear. In the end, she accepted a settlement of $15,000 just to make it go away. I agreed because I wanted it over with. I wanted her out of my life completely. The divorce was finalized 4 months after I served her papers. I heard through mutual acquaintances that Jessica had moved to Los Angeles and was already dating someone new, some guy who worked in finance. Marcus told me. She is already hunting for her next target. Honestly, I just felt relieved. Relieved that I had gotten out when I did, before we had kids, before our lives became even more entangled. The first 3 months after the divorce were strange. The apartment felt empty, but it was a clean kind of empty. Like when you finally clear out clutter that has been weighing you down. I threw myself into work for a while, but not in the desperate overtime way I had been doing during the marriage. I worked normal hours. I started going to the gym again, not to escape stress, but because I actually wanted to get healthier. I joined a running club that met on Saturday mornings. Met some good people there, folks who cared about fitness and friendship, not about what kind of car you drove or how much your watch cost. I started cooking again, trying new recipes, remembering that I actually enjoyed being in the kitchen when I was not rushing through dinner just to avoid another argument about money. About 4 months after the divorce, I took a trip by myself to Iceland. It was something I had always wanted to do. I love photography, and Iceland has some of the most incredible landscapes on Earth. Glaciers, waterfalls, volcanic beaches, the northern lights. When I was married, I had mentioned it once, and Jessica said it sounded boring. Too cold, too remote, not enough shopping or nightlife. So I never brought it up again. But now I could go wherever I wanted. I spent 10 days hiking across the country, taking thousands of photos, staying in small guest houses, talking to locals, just being alone with my thoughts. It was during that trip that I really started to heal. I realized how much of myself I had lost in that marriage. I had been so focused on trying to make Jessica happy, on proving I was a good provider, that I forgot to ask myself if I was happy. The answer was no. I had not been happy. I had been anxious, stressed, walking on eggshells, constantly worried about money and whether I was doing enough. That is not what marriage should feel like. Real partnership is about 2 people building something together, both contributing, both caring about each other's well-being. It is not one person endlessly giving while the other endlessly takes. When I got back from Iceland, I felt like a different person. Lighter, more confident. I started being more selective about who I let into my life. I went on a few dates here and there, nothing serious, and I paid attention to red flags in ways I never had before. Did she offer to split the bill? Did she talk about her own goals and work? Did she ask about my life beyond my job and income? These things mattered now. Marcus and I grabbed beers one night about 8 months after my divorce was final. He asked how I was really doing. I told him I was good. Actually good. Not just pretending. He said he was proud of me for getting out when I did that a lot of guys would have stayed and gotten buried deeper. I thought about that. He was right. I could have stayed. I could have kept working myself to death, kept draining my savings, kept believing that if I just gave a little more, she would finally be satisfied. But people like Jessica are never satisfied. There is always something more. They want something bigger and better and shinier. You cannot fill a bottomless pit, no matter how much you pour into it. The truth is, I ignored red flags from the very beginning because I was lonely. I wanted to believe I had found someone special. I wanted the fairy tale, the happy ending, the partner who would build a life with me. And Jessica was smart enough to give me that illusion, for just long enough to get the ring on her finger. But here is what I learned. Real love does not require you to prove yourself with money. Real love does not keep a running tab of what you have spent or what you can provide. Real love is about partnership, about two people who genuinely care for each other's happiness and well-being, who contribute what they can and support each other through the hard times. When someone tells you they feel trapped in your marriage, listen carefully to what they actually mean. Jessica did not feel trapped by commitment or by loss of freedom. She felt trapped by responsibility, by the expectation that she should contribute something besides just existing and spending. She wanted the benefits of marriage without any of the work, so I gave her what she asked for. I set her free. And in doing that, I found my own freedom. Freedom from the anxiety, from the financial drain, from the constant feeling that I was never enough. I found peace in my own space, in my own life, in my own choices. Now, when I look back at that whole experience, I do not feel bitter. I do not waste energy hating Jessica or wishing her harm. She is who she is, and that is her journey to figure out. My journey is about protecting myself, about being smarter, about understanding that my worth is not measured by my wallet. I saved myself by letting go of someone who never truly held me in the first place. Sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away from people who only value you for what you can give them. Life is too short to be someone's ATM. Life is too precious to spend it with someone who sees you as a prison when you stop giving them everything they demand. I gave her freedom, and I locked my wallet. And honestly, it was the best decision I ever made. So let me ask you this. Have you ever been in a relationship where you felt like you were giving everything and getting nothing back? Have you ever ignored warning signs because you wanted to believe in someone? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear your stories. If this resonated with you, hit that like button. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it. And subscribe because I will keep sharing real stories about real life, the kind that help us all learn and grow from each other's experiences. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps someone out there see their situation more clearly, or maybe just feel less alone if they are going through something similar. Take care of yourself, protect your heart, and remember you deserve someone who values you, for who you are not, for what you can provide. Until next time.